Hey peeps, welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk about the Dragon Soul Business for Elemental Shaman. First up, we're going to be using our LE4 piece, which is going to be the head, shoulders, chest, and hands, with the leg wraps from Resto tier set as an off piece. These legs obviously are amazing. Spirit Haste have red and yellow sockets, so these are going to be the ultimate BIS basically. There's another option with LE head, LE chest, LE hands, LE pants, and the imperfect specimens 28 and 27. This is about 100-ish DPS lower than the basically 5 tier pieces. So early on, I would recommend still going this because, you know, taking 5 tier pieces, unless they really drop a lot, would be quote unquote unfair, and it's only 100 DPS, and you can still later on go 5 tier pieces whenever everything drops. Then we have the neck from the first boss. This is basically BIS for everyone that can use Spirit. For mages and warlocks, there's a different neck, so they are not going to be on this obviously. Very good stats. Then we have the nano precise cape or the wound lickers cover. Both basically sim about 22 DPS of each other. Wound Licker is going to be about 22 DPS better early on, and then this one is going to be better later on full BIS, so it doesn't matter which one you buy. Next up, we have the bracers. I mean, nothing really to say here. Spirit Mastery is amazing, red socket and int bonus. And then you have another option called the Thundering Death Scale wrist guards. These are from leatherworking, unfortunately only 397. Of course, if you kill the boss normal, you can also get these, but as you can see, I mean, there's 2 red sockets plus 20 int, and this is basically free to get when you have the materials, which is going to be the essence of destruction. So definitely not a bad choice to get. Then we have the Dragon Wrath's Terragossa's Rest. This one is obviously really good because legendary weapon gives you a lot of stats, and the equip effect when you deal damage, you have a chance to basically shoot the spell again for free for 100% of the damage. This is insane. I mean, it scales with the gear basically as well, because, you know, when you shoot a 80k lava burst and it replicates, then it's also going to be an 80k lava burst. There's other options if you don't have the staff, but basically you're just not going to do as much damage as the other casters with the staff. You can use the Poisonous Mind dagger and then the shield as an offhand, the timepiece of the bronze flight. That being said, this dagger doesn't do that much damage, especially on single target. Like when you hit 4 dummies, it most of the time only hits 3 of them, and the damage is very lackluster. The trinket, as an example here, the AoE volley trinket, does way more damage compared to that, so very unfortunate, but I mean, it's better than nothing. Then the other option would be this staff here, which basically gives you haste and everyone also a little bit of haste. It's not that great for like a main weapon. You use this for pre-procking and then basically just for that. Next up, we have the Belt of Shattered Elementium. This is going to be from Spine, so this is going to be a little bit of higher item level, which is going to be for 16. This is also the reason why it's better than the other belt, which is going to be the Shattered Stone. The Shattered Stone one, lower item level, also worse stats, so definitely should take the other one because this one is just absolutely insane. Then we have the Mind Strainer Treads. This obviously, no questions asked, Spirit Mastery, 2 slots of gems. Absolutely awesome. Then for the rings, we have the Signet of Suturing and the Ring of Riven. Ring of Riven drops from the boss Hagara, and the Signet of Suturing and Infinite Loop both are additional boss loot. So they can drop from every single boss basically, like in Firelands. Yeah, so whenever you get lucky, you get lucky. If you don't, you don't basically. As you can see, I have a sim here for the Infinite Loop instead of the Suturing. It's about 371 DPS lower, so I would definitely not take this from warlocks and mages because it's their BIS. I would just instead go the Band of Reconstruction, which is going to be the Valor one, and just take this until you get your BIS ring. Then we have the Will of the Unbinding and Cunning of the Cruel. Both of these trinkets obviously really good, especially this one gives you 99 int stacking up for 10 times, so you constantly have that int. Cunning of the Cruel is basically the lightning capacitator from Ragnaros, especially on single target. On AoE, it does an AoE volley to all enemies of the target you're hitting in 10 yards. So this is obviously really good on cleave and AoE fights, because that's where this trinket really shines. Now, I want to talk about pre-procking. So basically, there's an option on the sim that is called item swap. What this exactly does is, as you can see here, there's a specific amount of items you can add We have the resto tier piece, which the set is the one that you want. It's the increases the duration of Spirit Walker's Grace by 5 seconds and gains you 30% haste while Spirit Walker's Grace is active. So you can put this tier set on before the fight starts, and then before the fight starts, you will just press Spirit Walker's Grace and then swap to your LE pieces, and then you keep the buff of the 30% haste at the start of the fight, which stacks with Bloodlust and PI, so it's really, really good. The important part now is the trinket pre-procking. So the only reason this works is because when you use a trinket with a proc equip effect, it stays whenever you proc it and put on another item. That being said, if you put on, let's say, Tendrils, but you use it with Dark Moon Card Volcano, this won't work. Every single time you swap a trinket, the trinket goes on cooldown that you just put on. Yes, you will have this effect, but Dark Moon Card will be on cooldown. That being said, if you have trinkets like Will of the Unbinding, Lightning Capacitator, Cunning of the Cruel, even though Cunning does have a cooldown, but it's 9 seconds, so it's very, very low. Every single time, let's say you do this and you put on Gladiator's Insignia of Dominance and you put on Tendrils, then what you do is use Healing Rain before the fight starts. You proc both of these trinkets, and then you swap to Will of Unbinding and Cunning. You will keep the trinket buffs, which is going to be 2,928 spell power, and you will have the effects of these trinkets on top of this. Yes, whenever you have the 2,900 spell power, you have a certain amount of time before the buff runs out, which is going to be about like 13-ish seconds, 12 seconds. So you most likely won't be able to fully stack up Will of the Unbinding, but you will get about 6 to 8 stacks, which is still a very big amount of int, on top of having 2,928 spell power. And then your first fire alley is going to be really, really big. Obviously, first of all, you need to have these trinkets to pre-proc them. Plus, you obviously need to know, hey, is my guild gonna always pull early? And hey, do I have enough time to even use this? Because whenever you put the pre-proc set on, let's say you put on the resto pieces, you put on the trinkets and the staff, which you can also pre-proc with Hurricane enchant on it. All of this procs from Healing Rain, besides obviously the resto pieces. The question is, okay, if I put this on, do I have about 50 to 55 seconds before we pull for all of this to be off cooldown? If you never have that amount of time, obviously you can ask for it. Maybe your guild understands, especially with other specs also doing this. There's a lot of people that benefit from this. Then if you don't have enough time, I would still recommend going for the resto thing, because that doesn't have a cooldown. You put on the resto tier pieces, then you use Spirit Walker's Grace, put on your LE pieces, call it a day, and have extra haste. And like I said, this only works if you have a trinket with no cooldown. So Will of the Unbinding, Cunning of the Cruel, and like VPL are going to be working for this. You can also pre-proc other trinkets, like you can pre-proc this as well as an example. You can, get a haste. This is when you deal damage. Actually, not this one. That's totally wrong. This one is what I mean. When you heal, you have a chance to gain haste. This is also a pre-proc trinket if you don't have any of the other pre-proc trinkets. This is worse than getting spell power, but it's still better than nothing. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or anything along the lines, please put them in the comments. I hope this helped you out a little bit, and I shall see you in the next video.